You know that sinking feeling, right? When you open up a file full of convoluted legacy logic and you just feel this immediate sense of dread. Well, you are definitely in the right place. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking Chapter 17 of the Classic Clean Code Handbook and transforming it into a practical, diagnostic framework for your code bases. We're going to take those abstract coding concepts and turn them into concrete rules you can actually use.
So let's jump right in by defining what we actually mean when we say a code smell. I love this quote from Big Dave Thomas. He sets the ultimate standard here. Code is only truly clean if someone else can read it and enhance it. A code smell isn't necessarily a bug. It's that intuitive gut reaction you get when you're reading bad code. It's a symptom. It's a tiny warning sign that tempts a mess to grow and eventually rot the whole system.
And look, if we ignore those smells and we let those metaphorical broken windows just pile up in our projects, well, eventually you're going to need a massive bulldozer just to clean up the trash. Because code rot doesn't happen overnight, does it? No, it happens one poorly named variable and one massive, tangled function at a time.
To keep things manageable, we've organized these heuristics into 5 logical buckets: clutter, mechanics, vocabulary, the safety net, and finally, the Boy Scout rule.
Let's start right off with bucket number 1, clutter, specifically comments and your build environment.
There is such a stark contrast between a redundant comment and truly clean code. I mean, think about writing increment I right next to an I++ statement. It's just noise, right? The core heuristic here is actually pretty blunt. A comment is often a failure of expression. Expressive code should self-document its intent. So if your code requires a massive paragraph of comments just to be understood, you probably shouldn't write the comment. You should rewrite the code.
And moving beyond just comments, we really have to look at the environment where our code lives. A healthy environment means you should be able to check out the system and run every single unit test with one simple command, literally one step. If your build requires arcane scripts or hunting down random XML files in jars, that is a massive environment smell. It just adds this constant draining friction to your workflow.
Okay, moving on to bucket 2, mechanics. Let's look at functions and general code structure.
When it comes to mechanics, the golden rule is that functions should have as few arguments as possible. Honestly, 0 is the holy grail. 1 or 2, that's fine, but more than 3 should be avoided with absolute prejudice. And catch that third point. Flag arguments. Passing a Boolean into a function is basically screaming to the world that your function does more than one thing. Oh, and if a function is dead and never gets called, give it a proper burial. Delete it. Don't worry, your source control system will remember it.
Just compare a massive, monolithic function that fetches data, formats it, and prints it to a series of small, extracted functions that do exactly one thing each. Functions absolutely must do one thing, and they should really only descend one level of abstraction from their name. That is how you keep logic clean and easy to trace.
Now, looking at general heuristics, eliminating duplication, the DRY principle, don't repeat yourself, is just absolutely paramount. Every single time you see duplication, you are looking at a missed opportunity for a clean abstraction. Plus, things like burying unexecuted dead code, keeping your naming conventions strictly consistent, and encapsulating messy conditionals into nicely named functions. These aren't just nice-to-haves. They are absolute necessities to stop your system from rotting.
All right, bucket number 3, vocabulary. Let's talk about names, and we'll touch on a few Java specifics too. Look, forcing your reader to mentally translate your variables causes massive confusion. You never want the next developer feeling like they're being interrogated by the code police just to figure out what a variable does. And hey, injecting cute colloquialisms or inside jokes into your code, really bad idea. Clarity is always going to beat entertainment value. Say what you mean and mean what you say.
There's just a world of difference between a disinformative name and an intention-revealing one. We need to strictly avoid old-school encodings like Hungarian notation or member prefixes or just meaningless noise words. Calling an array A1 gives 0 context to the person reading it. Instead, we want unambiguous, standard nomenclature that reveals exactly what you intend, names like source and destination.
And for the Java folks out there, the source lays out a few very specific heuristics. First, keep your import lists clean. Use wildcards so your files aren't a cluttered mess at the very top. Second, please don't inherit constants from interfaces. It's deceptive, and it forces the reader to go hunting for where the constant was actually defined. And third, ditch the outdated public static final variables and use enums instead.
Bucket 4, the safety net. Because, listen, absolutely none of this refactoring or renaming
or extracting is safe without a rock-solid suite of unit tests.
I actually want you to pause and reflect on your own setup for a second here. Do your tests require more than one step to run? Are they too slow? Be honest, because if your tests are a pain to execute or if they take forever, they just aren't going to get run when the pressure is on and a deadline is looming. A slow test is a dropped test. Simple as that.
A pristine test suite demands fast tests that evaluate a single concept per test. When you actually stick to that, your tests enable all those crucial abilities, maintainability, flexibility, you name it. And don't forget about test coverage patterns. Looking at the code that is not being executed by your passing tests can give you massive clues when things start breaking down.
Which brings us to our fifth and final ducat, the Boy Scout rule.
This is really the ultimate heuristic of software craftsmanship. Leave the campground cleaner than you found it. Think about it. If every single one of us checked in our code just a tiny bit cleaner than when we checked it out, maybe renaming one bad variable, breaking up one overly long function, or drying up one little piece of duplication, the codebase simply could not rot. It would be impossible.
And that brings us to the primal conundrum. I want you to remember this quote. You will not make the deadline by making the mess. The mess will slow you down instantly. Creating a mess because you think it'll make you go faster is an absolute illusion. True professionals know that maintaining clean code is literally the only way to meet your deadlines and move fast in the long run.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you with a challenge. Will you leave your codebase cleaner than you found it today? Take these heuristics back to your team. Start diagnosing those broken windows. And hey, don't be afraid to bring in the bulldozer when you need it. Thanks for digging into this with me today.